What if I told you that a young man, betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, torn from everything he knew and loved, was chosen by God to govern an entire nation? Joseph was not born in a palace. He did not begin his journey surrounded by power or privilege. He began at the bottom of a pit, rejected by those he loved, humiliated in a foreign land, falsely accused, and forgotten inside a prison cell. But while everything seemed silent, while darkness surrounded him on every side, God was working. There are stories that transcend generations, narratives that force us to ask ourselves, how far can we go when everything seems lost? How much can the human spirit endure before it breaks? This is the journey of a young man filled with visions and dreams, abandoned by the very people who should have protected him. A man cast into the deepest abyss, and yet, against all odds, transformed into the single most important instrument for preserving an entire civilization. This is the journey of Joseph, and perhaps, in ways you have not yet recognized, it is also your journey. Joseph was born from the union of Jacob and Rachel. He was the long-awaited son, fruit of genuine affection, of years of prayer, and of unshakable faith. From the moment of his birth, Jacob felt something different toward this child, a love that ran deeper than what he felt for his other sons. As a visible expression of that love, Jacob gave Joseph a magnificent robe, long, richly colored, unlike anything his brothers had ever received. That gift would become the seed of devastating family jealousy. Joseph carried within him something extraordinary, the ability to receive powerful visions, divine dreams that spoke of things yet to come. And in his youthful honesty, perhaps with more boldness than wisdom, he shared those visions openly. In one of them, he said to his brothers, "I saw us in the field, gathering sheaves of grain. My sheaf rose and stood upright, while all of yours gathered around it and bowed down before mine." In another vision, even more striking, he declared, "I saw the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowing down before me." His brothers could barely contain their fury. Does he think he will reign over us? Does he believe he is better than all of us? The jealousy that had been smoldering for years now began to ignite into something far more dangerous. It was no longer simply envy, it was becoming a conspiracy. One particular day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers who were working in the fields. As soon as they saw him approaching in the distance, still wearing that robe, that symbol of favoritism, they made their decision. "Here comes the dreamer," they said with cold contempt. "Let us see what becomes of his dreams now." Joseph was seized. His magnificent robe was stripped from his body. He was thrown into a dry, empty cistern, a deep pit with no water, no way to climb out, and no one to hear his cries. Then, as a caravan of Midianite merchants passed by on their way to Egypt, the brothers made a calculated decision. They pulled Joseph out of the pit and sold him, their own flesh and blood, for 20 pieces of silver. To cover their crime, they took Joseph's robe, dipped it in the blood of a slaughtered goat, and brought it to their father. Jacob looked at the torn, bloodied garment and collapsed in grief. A wild animal has devoured him. Joseph has been torn to pieces. And Jacob mourned his son with a sorrow so deep that no one could comfort him. Meanwhile, Joseph, bound in chains, was disappearing into the vast desert, moving further and further from everything he had ever known. There are moments in life when everything is violently taken from us. In the span of a single day, Joseph went from beloved son to slave. The robe of honor was replaced by chains. The warmth of home was replaced by the merciless desert sun. And the dreams, those beautiful, vivid dreams, must have seemed very far away in that moment. But here is the truth that Joseph's story teaches us.
When God has a purpose for your life, no betrayal, not even the deepest kind from those closest to you, can cancel that destiny. The pit was not the end, it was only the beginning. Upon arriving in Egypt, Joseph was purchased by Potiphar, the captain of Pharaoh's royal guard. Even in slavery, even stripped of his identity and his freedom, the scripture tells us something profound. The Lord was with Joseph. That divine presence was
Not invisible. It expressed itself through Joseph's character, his diligence, his integrity, his wisdom, his ability to bring order to everything he touched. Potiphar noticed. He could not explain it, but everything Joseph managed prospered. The crops, the finances, the household staff, all of it flourished under his oversight. Potiphar's trust grew so great that he placed Joseph in charge of everything he owned, keeping back nothing at all. But comfort never lasts long in Joseph's story. Potiphar's wife became obsessed with Joseph. Day after day, she approached him, pressured him, tried to seduce him, and day after day, Joseph refused. "How could I do something so wicked," he said, "and sin against God?" His refusal was not merely about loyalty to Potiphar. It was about his relationship with God, a standard he refused to compromise regardless of the personal cost. The rejection became rage, and rage became a lie. She accused him falsely. She told her husband that Joseph had tried to assault her, and Potiphar, hearing his wife's accusation, had Joseph thrown into the royal prison, the same dungeon where Pharaoh's own prisoners were held. Let that sink in for a moment. Joseph did everything right. He maintained his integrity under unbearable pressure. He refused to compromise his values, even when compromise would have been easy and invisible. And his reward? Prison. Chains again. Darkness again. How many of us would have surrendered at that point? How many would have looked at God and said, "What is the point of doing right if this is where it leads?" But Joseph possessed something rare and extraordinary, the ability to trust God even when every circumstance screamed that God had forgotten him. Because deep in his spirit, Joseph understood something essential. God sees, God knows, and God never abandons those who honor him. Inside the prison, Joseph continued to be who he was. He did not grow bitter. He did not become hardened. The warden, recognizing something exceptional in this man, gave Joseph increasing responsibilities over the other prisoners. Even in a cell, Joseph led. Even in chains, Joseph served. Then, two of Pharaoh's most important servants, his personal cupbearer and his royal baker, were thrown into the same prison. Both men had disturbing dreams on the same night and woke deeply troubled. Joseph noticed their distress and asked them about it. "Tell me your dreams," he said. "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me, and he will give the answer." To the cupbearer, Joseph said, "In 3 days, Pharaoh will restore your position. You will place his cup in his hand again, just as before." And then Joseph made a quiet, heartfelt request. "When things go well for you, please remember me. Mention me to Pharaoh. Help me get out of this place, because I have done nothing to deserve being here." To the baker, the interpretation carried a heavier weight. Within 3 days, he would be executed. Both came true, exactly as Joseph had said. But the cupbearer, the moment he was restored to Pharaoh's presence and to the luxury of the palace, forgot all about the man in the prison who had given him hope. He forgot Joseph completely. 2 years passed, 2 years of silence, 2 years of the same prison walls, the same darkness, the same waiting. 2 full years after the cupbearer walked free, Joseph remained. And if there was ever a season that could have destroyed a man's faith, it was those 2 long, quiet years of being overlooked and forgotten. But there is a difference, a profound and crucial difference between being forgotten by men and being forgotten by God. Joseph had not been abandoned. He had been placed in a waiting room that was actually a training ground. God was not ignoring Joseph's pain. God was preparing Joseph's character for a weight of responsibility that would one day require everything he had developed in that prison. And when the appointed time came, nothing, absolutely nothing, could prevent what was about to happen. Pharaoh, the most powerful man in the known world, began to dream. In the first dream, 7 fat, healthy cows rose from the Nile River and grazed in the reed grass. Then 7 other cows came up behind them, gaunt, diseased, grotesque, and devoured the 7 healthy ones. In the second dream, 7 full, ripe heads of grain grew on a single stalk. Then 7 thin, withered heads, scorched by the desert wind, swallowed them whole. Pharaoh woke disturbed, summoned every magician, every wise man, every scholar in Egypt. None of them could offer an interpretation. The greatest kingdom on earth stood before 2 dreams and had no answers. It was in that moment that the cupbearer's memory finally returned. "I remember my faults today," he said to Pharaoh. "There was a young Hebrew man in the prison, a servant of the captain of the guard. I told him my dream, and he interpreted it perfectly. Everything happened exactly as he said." Joseph was brought out of the dungeon. He shaved, changed his clothes, and stood before the throne of Pharaoh. "I have heard that you can interpret dreams," said Pharaoh. Joseph's answer was immediate and humble. "It is not in me to do this, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he needs." And with that spirit of complete dependence on God, Joseph listened to Pharaoh's dreams and declared, "The 2 dreams are one. God is showing Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of extraordinary abundance are coming to all of Egypt, but after them will come 7 years of devastating famine, so severe that all the abundance will be forgotten. The land will be consumed." Then Joseph went further. He offered a solution. Let Pharaoh appoint a wise and discerning man to oversee the land of Egypt. Let commissioners be appointed to collect 1/5 of the harvest during the 7 years of abundance. Let that grain be stored and held in reserve for the 7 years of famine that are coming, so that the land will not be destroyed. Pharaoh looked at his advisors. "Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" He turned back to Joseph. "Since God has revealed all of this to you, there is no one as discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace. Only with respect to the throne itself will I be greater than you." On that day, Joseph went from forgotten prisoner to second in command over all of Egypt. He received fine linen robes, a gold chain, Pharaoh's own signet ring, and a chariot second only to the king's. Everywhere Joseph traveled, people bowed before him, from the pit to the palace, from prison to power. During the 7 years of abundance, Joseph was tireless. He traveled throughout Egypt, overseeing the collection and storage of grain in every city. The harvest was so plentiful that eventually they stopped counting. The amount was beyond measure. Then the famine came, and it was exactly as God had shown. Not just Egypt, but the surrounding nations, the entire known world, were struck by the devastating shortage of food. People came from every direction seeking grain, and Egypt alone had enough. Among those who came were 10 men from the land of Canaan. They were brothers, hungry, desperate, worn by the journey. They stood before the governor of Egypt and bowed low to the ground before him. They did not recognize Joseph, but Joseph recognized them immediately. He could have had them executed on the spot. He had the power. He had every earthly justification. Instead, something more profound moved within him. He tested them, not out of cruelty, but to see whether their hearts had changed. Were they still the same men who had thrown him into that pit, or had years of hardship produced something new in them? What followed was a series of encounters that slowly, carefully revealed the answer. Joseph watched. He listened. He saw genuine remorse. He saw his youngest brother, Benjamin, whom he loved deeply. And when he finally saw the transformation in his brothers' hearts, when he could hold back no longer, Joseph cleared the room of all his Egyptian attendants, and with only his brothers present, he wept so loudly that the Egyptians outside could hear him. Then he said the words that changed everything. "I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" His brothers were too stunned to answer. They stood frozen before him, terrified, speechless, overwhelmed. Joseph spoke again, gently this time. "Come close to me. I am Joseph, your brother, the one you sold into Egypt."
And now, do not be distressed or angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was God who sent me ahead of you to preserve life." He continued, "It was not you who sent me here, but God." Let the weight of those words settle over you. Not you, God. Joseph had every reason to rewrite that story as one of victimhood and vengeance. He chose instead to read it as a story of divine orchestration. Every betrayal, every false accusation.
Night in prison, every forgotten promise, all of it, every single painful chapter had been a thread in a tapestry that only God could fully see. Joseph embraced the brothers who had betrayed him. He wept over them, he kissed them, and then he moved into action with remarkable generosity. "Go back to Canaan and bring my father here. Tell him that Joseph is alive and that he governs all of Egypt. Bring the whole family. I will provide for all of you." He sent them back loaded with wagons, provisions, fine clothing, and silver, more than enough for the journey and beyond. When the brothers arrived at Jacob's tent and told him that Joseph was alive, that he was not dead, that he ruled Egypt, the old patriarch's heart nearly stopped. His mind could not process it. After 22 years of grief, of mourning a son he believed had been destroyed, the words seemed impossible, cruel even, like some terrible dream. But then he saw the wagons, he touched the gifts, he heard the details, and something deep within his spirit, something that had been extinguished long ago, reignited like a flame catching dry wood. "Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." Jacob gathered his entire family, 70 people in all, and they set out for Egypt. It was a journey of faith, a journey of restoration, a journey toward a reunion that should have been impossible. When Joseph received word that his father was approaching, he could not wait. He did not receive the news calmly in his palace and dispatch servants. He prepared his own chariot and rode out himself to meet Jacob in the land of Goshen. The moment their eyes met, after more than 2 decades of separation, after years of grief and mourning and wondering, Joseph leaped from his chariot and ran. He threw himself around his father's neck and wept for a long time, releasing decades of longing, pain, and love all at once. Jacob, with trembling hands, held his son's face. He looked at him, this man who had once been a boy in a colorful robe, and said through his tears, "Now I am ready to die, since I have seen your face and know that you are still alive." Joseph settled his family in Goshen, the finest, most fertile region of Egypt. He provided for them personally throughout the remaining years of famine. He gave them land, food, protection, and honor. The very family that had rejected him, sold him, and declared him dead was now sustained by his own hand. Years passed in peace. The family grew, and when Jacob was approaching the end of his life, he gathered his sons to bless them. To Joseph, he spoke with prophetic power. "You are a fruitful vine, a vine growing beside a spring whose branches climb over the wall. Archers attacked you with bitterness and persecuted you with hostility, yet your bow remained steady, and your arms were made strong by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob." Joseph lived to the age of 110 years in Egypt. He saw his children, his grandchildren, and his great-grandchildren grow and flourish. He watched the promises of God unfold through the story of his own life. And before he died, he called his people together and spoke one final word of faith. "God will surely come to your aid and take you out of this land to the land he promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." The story that began with jealousy, betrayal, and an empty pit in the desert ended with forgiveness, complete restoration, and an entire people preserved from extinction. What looked like the tragic end of a dreamer was actually God repositioning the pieces on the great board of human history, placing exactly the right person in exactly the right place at exactly the right moment. Joseph's life declares to anyone willing to listen, your pain has a purpose. Your waiting season is not wasted.
Your pit is not your grave. And the God who was with Joseph in the dungeon, in the slave market, and in the prison cell, that same God is with you right now, in whatever place you find yourself today. The dreams given to you have not expired. The promises spoken over your life have not been canceled. And just as Joseph's story did not end in the pit, neither will yours. If this story moved you, if it spoke to something deep in your heart, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. There are more stories like this waiting for you here.